Well, there's a lot of things to consider when you're picking up pallets or reclaimed wood. For me, my first experience with pallets was not very pleasant. I ended up paying somebody $5 a pallet for half a dozen or so pallets, and when I got them home, they were very, very difficult to take apart. First of all, I didn't know how to take them apart. Second of all, I probably could have picked a better pallet to take them apart. So, in looking at these pallets, I think the first thing to consider when you're getting pallets or reclaimed wood is what's the function of the pallet? What are you buying them for? Or not buying them. A lot of times they're free, and I would highly advise not paying for pallets. So what's the purpose? My first purpose on this home was this reclaimed wall over here. One thing to note on that wall is this is an older garage, and the spacing on the studs is 2 feet instead of the traditional 16 inches. And that was not highly conducive to pallets. Most pallet wood is not 48 inches, and if it is, you're going to be wasting that extra length that's going to get you there. So if you see, a lot of these pieces are cut down to be 2 feet long. So we got a 2-footer, a 2-footer, a 2-footer, and we've got a few long ones. And these long ones I had to especially seek out and find those, and I wanted those in the wall because I didn't want just a row of 2-foot lengths. I wanted to break it up, but it definitely took some thought. So looking at these pallets I've got here, these pallets are twofold. First of all, the length. These are abnormally long, and they've got this what's close to a 2x4 in here. I don't think it's quite a 2x4. It's close to a 2x3, 3.5. But these are very useful, the extra length on those. And I used those on my storage room shelving project. They worked great, worked equivalent to 2x4s, and they were 100% free to me. The other thing that I like about these is the nail bed is shallower. So the shorter the bed, the shorter the nail you can expect out of it. So hence it's easier to pry. When you're looking at pallets, look for breakage. You can see this one over here is broken. Picking up these pallets, I'm not particularly concerned about those sections. I can still use a good chunk on each end. But the main reason I got these was for the pallet slats. And these slats are the ones I used on my fence. I haven't put up a video of that yet, but I need to do that. I've got quite a few over here in the corner stacked up, and those slats are awesome. They're very useful, and they're also very easy to come out. Another thing to look for is how many runners there are. So this, I don't know if that's the correct term, that's what I'm going to phrase them as. So this one has 4 runners, and this one over here has 3 runners, and this one right here that has 4 runners, I dislike that it has 4 runners. First of all, the outer runners, I always just plan on those being waste. So you can always just count on your outside inch and a half to be garbage. As you can see right here, this one's split, and anytime you try and pry those up, you can guarantee that every single one of these is going to split on you. So you're better off just to go down that whole length and cut off the end. And then that leaves this middle section where it's nailed down to the 2 middle runners. The advantage of this board versus other ones, you look for the quantity of nails. These end ones have 3, but most of these other ones have 2 nails in them. And I would even suggest, if you're going to go to a place and pick up a large quantity of pallets, I would go there at first and pick up only a few, 1 or 2, take them back home and take them apart and see how difficult they are. Maybe it's a good place to get a large quantity of pallets, but perhaps it's not necessarily the best pallet to take apart. So these, I have found, these ones are really a gold mine score for me. I've got these extra length runners, I've got a large quantity of slats, and they're also very easy to take apart. Even though there's 2 runners in the middle, they pry off very easily. Now this one over here that has 3 runners, the main reason I picked that up is I'm working on that green room downstairs, and this one actually has 3 2x4s on it. So that was the main reason I picked those up. These slats are not ideal for me. I will probably save them and use them somewhere. But as you can see right here, First off, we've definitely got a lot of wastage. So not only are we taking off 1.5 inches, we're taking off close to 4 inches on each end. These are also very thin slats. The likelihood of breaking these while prying them off is a lot higher. It's also got a lot more nails in them. I'm not sure why. We've got, 4 nail heads here. Sometimes the nail heads add characteristics to these, but depending on your functionality, obviously that's something to look at as well. As I mentioned in a previous video, some other reclaimed wood that I've picked up are these pieces of plywood. They do nip off the corner of these, which is a little bit of wastage, but they are about 40 inches by 40 inches, and they're very useful. I used them on that basement storage room shelving, and that worked well. Up here you can see some 2x6s that I have reclaimed as well. I've got a lot of 2x6s and 2x8s left over. I don't have a lot of purpose for those, so they just kind of sat on the shelf. I'd like to get a table saw, and then I can run those through there and trim them down to, and maybe use them as 2x4s or whatnot. As you can see in these ones, these had bolts in them. I like wood that's been bolted together. It comes apart fairly easy, usually. The one thing I have noticed with some of these that are bolted together is they'll have nails in them as well, and they'll have so many nails. I mean, they'll have 6 nails in one spot, and it's just, once you have that many, it's just horrible to take apart. Back here in the back, I've got this traditional pallet kind of buried. I've kind of gone away from these traditional size pallets. They just don't seem to work very well for me. They're just a lot of work. So right here you can see the depth on these. The nail bed depth is pretty significant, so the nails are usually longer. And a lot of times I'll have more nails in these as well. You can't see further down, but these up here have 3 nails each. One other thing to do on these nails, I made some planter boxes out of pallet wood, and they had a lot of nails in them, and they were very deep and embedded nails. And a lot of times when that's the case, sometimes you're better off to actually take a punch and stick it on the nail head and actually punch the nail through the rest of the way. If it's already halfway through the board, you can see how deep these are. If you can't see the nail head, sometimes that's not going to pry up. So if you just punch them through, it'll do less damage to the board. When you try to pry them up, it'll just break away the back side a little bit. There's some tips on choosing good pallet wood or reclaimed wood for your projects, and I'll add some more if I can think of them. A few additional items to note on pallets. Number one, be persistent. With anything worthwhile in life, it's going to take some time. So if you're finding some free wood, more than likely it's going to take some effort. It's going to take some additional effort. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be like going to the home improvement store and picking it up. It's going to take time. You're going to have to seek out manufacturers in the nearby area, and you're going to have to visit them frequently. The place I get them from, I'll go 6 times before I find a good score, or give or take. But you have to be persistent. You have to know what you're looking for, know where to find it. Call around and ask. Don't be shy. Don't be afraid to do that. A couple other things to note. One of the big turnoffs to people with using reclaimed wood or pallet wood is where they might be used, and what they've used to treat them. Some of the wood's heat treated, some of it's chemically treated. Depending on your purpose, your function, if you're using it in the house, in the garden, whatever it is. There's a lot of resources available on the internet to help identify what the pallets were used for and how they were treated, and how to safely use them for your function. So the other thing you might want to be aware of is what did the manufacturer use the pallets for? What materials came on them? Was the pallet used to hold 55-gallon drums of a toxic material, or was it used to bring in metals? If that product they carried was a safe product, then by all means you're safe to use it. If it was an unsafe product, you certainly don't want to be using it around your house or home. So those are a few additional items to note on using reclaimed wood.